What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different here on the channel. For about the last year, I have started interacting with the Fallout 76 community on Twitter, on Twitch, YouTube, across various platforms. And probably the most common questions I get are, how did you get into this whole West Virginia travel history, whatever it is I do on this channel? How did you get into that? And secondly, what is your relationship with Fallout 76 and its community, which is what we're going to get into today. So this is probably going to be a multi-part video. I know it's at least going to be a couple different parts. If at any point you have any questions, which I'm sure I'm just going to throw out some random facts that I assume y'all know or don't care about, and you'll have lots of questions, leave them down below. Maybe I'll make this a regular occurring segment. Let's get into how all of this got started. I was born in West Virginia, early 90s, spent a lot of the time in the Scouts and playing in the woods and stuff. That's where I first learned, my love of the outdoors, my love of traveling around. But really, I think the key major dates are in 2009, a really good friend of mine named Matt first introduced me to Fallout 3. I was a big fan of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and he basically told me, hey, there's this other game made by the exact same company, the exact same people, called Fallout 3. It takes place in DC, and I think we marathoned that game for like 2 or 3 weekends. We would just hang out and just play Fallout 3 non-stop the whole time. In 2010, I was taking some community college classes up at West Virginia Northern Community College in Wheeling. Go Thundering Chickens. That's their actual mascot, probably the greatest community college mascot. One of the professors up there wanted to start teaching Appalachian subculture. I had signed up for West Virginia history. My advisor emailed me and said, they want to start teaching this other class. You might be interested in it. It's basically going to use the same book and the same syllabus as West Virginia history. It's going to be a sociology credit, and you need another one of those. So I signed up for this class, and it really looked at kind of how West Virginia and Appalachia played a role and viewed like global historical events, and how the world kind of viewed Appalachian and West Virginia history. And I mean, we started all the way back in like how the British and the colonies viewed individuals settling across the Blue Ridge Mountains, pre-United States, all the way up to like how West Virginia and Appalachia is depicted in like modern, movies and TV shows to this day, like Appalachian stereotypes in media. And it was just an amazing class, and it really revitalized my interest in West Virginia history, local history, Appalachian folklore for like the next decade almost. My 2 biggest interests were the Fallout franchise. Played a lot of 3, played a lot of New Vegas, played a lot of Fallout 4, and local and West Virginia history. Now, at the same time, a lot of people had tried getting me into some type of content creation. A lot of people had suggested I get into some type of podcasting or streaming or making videos, doing something like that. But I always found an excuse not to. And one morning in 2018, I wake up and I have like 5 or 6 messages, and I'm like, that's a little bit odd, and they're all about the Fallout 76 teaser trailer that had dropped. For those of you who don't remember, or those of you who don't know, it was basically like not even a minute-long clip that just had country roads playing in the background, and then it ended with like a big like Fallout 76. And people were losing their minds. And a lot of people, forwarded it to me like, hey, this is something you're probably going to be super interested in, because a lot of people knew me as the West Virginia Fallout guy. So for the next 3-4 days, I was on various forums and websites, just trying to answer people's questions about West Virginia. You know, what's in West Virginia, what is significant about West Virginia, what would a Fallout game look like in West Virginia, why is there a West Virginia? Like, there's no East Virginia, there's no other state that has West in its name, you know, there's no West Dakota, like, why is there a West Virginia? And this wasn't just like a game that's only played by Americans. This is a internationally popular video game franchise, which, real quick, shout out to the Japanese Fallout community. I don't know why, but a bunch of y'all follow me on social media, and it's so cool, and I appreciate everything y'all do. I go to work, and one of the guys I'm friends with at work is talking to me. I'm telling him about, you know, all these forums and subreddits and all these questions I've been answering about West Virginia, and he just straight up asks me, he's like, well, what do you plan on doing with it? Like, are you going to do videos, or are you going to do, like, something else? Like, what's your plans? And, you know, even at that point, I really hadn't thought about getting into content creation yet at that point. And I just told him that, and I told him that I didn't even know what I would talk about if I did do something like that. And if looks could kill, I would have just burst into flames in that very second, because this was a guy whose ear I had talked off every day for the past, like, year, 2 years about West Virginia history and, you know, things I had learned by, you know, reading historical papers and stuff. And he just gives me this death stare of, like, what do you mean you don't know what you talk about? You literally haven't shut up for the last year and a half about West Virginia history. So I just went home and I started looking through what had a lot of the questions been about as far as West Virginia. And again, probably the most recurring question was, why is there a West Virginia? How did West Virginia become a state? So I started researching that. Then you had the big E3 reveal where it came out, yes, Fallout 76 is going to take place in West Virginia. Yes, there's going to be several landmarks in West Virginia featured in the game. And that's when I realized, well, I kind of have to do something with it now. So that first video came out in kind of a weird way. It came out, I think, a week or two before West Virginia Day, the anniversary of when West Virginia was officially recognized as a state. So kind of all these different lines started crossing. Like, you had the people who were fans of the Fallout games who were now, you know, interested in West Virginia history. You had West Virginians who were, you know, wanting to do some historical research for West Virginia Day and how West Virginia became a state. And all these lines kind of crossed, and I put out that first video, and it did exceptionally well. For what it was, you know, for having no social media presence up until that point, never putting out a video before, recording the video on a $70 prepaid burner phone with onboard audio, like, for all those things working against it, it did exceptionally well in the first 48, 72 hours. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you have any questions about anything, leave them down below. And if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, sharing videos and leaving likes are always appreciated. And until next time, don't forget to stay wild, stay wonderful, and I'll talk to you later.